You know that silence that comes after the reading of a will? The kind that hangs in the air like dust in a sunbeam, thick and choking. That's where this started. In the musty law office of David Miller, a man whose tie was always slightly crooked and whose eyes avoided mine as he cleared his throat. Robert had been gone 3 weeks, just a whisper of a man at the end, all bones and hollows in that hospital bed in Dayton. I'd held his hand, read him psalms, dabbed his lips with a damp cloth. Thomas, Robert's son, hadn't visited in those last months. Not once. But there he was, sitting across from David, wearing a suit that cost more than my car. David slid the paper across the desk. "Eleanor, I'm sorry. The house, the accounts, the land. It all goes to Thomas." Thomas didn't even try to hide his smirk. Dad was clear. He said you'd be taken care of, but the estate stays with the Hayes name. The Hayes name. Like I hadn't carried it for 35 years. Like I hadn't buried 2 miscarriages in the churchyard because Robert wanted a son first. My hands trembled, but my voice didn't. "What about the trust?" Robert set one up for me. David frowned. "There's no trust, Eleanor, not in the files." Thomas stood, buttoning his jacket. "I'll give you 30 days to vacate the house, out of respect for Dad." Respect, the word tasted like ash. That night I sat in Robert's study, the room that still smelled of his pipe tobacco and old paper. The room where he drafted his will. I knew he'd been meticulous, so why no trust? I pulled open his desk drawer, the one with the false bottom he'd shown me years ago, laughing about his secret stash of cigars. But it wasn't cigars I found. It was a ledger. Thick, leather-bound, with my name, *Eleanor Hayes*, embossed in gold. Inside, entries dated back decades. 1987, down payment on house. 1995, Elaine's medical bills. 2010, Robert's heart surgery. My sacrifices quantified. And at the back, a notarized document, the Eleanor Hayes Trust, signed by Robert and witnessed by his old friend Thomas's uncle. A sob tore from my throat. He had * provided for me, but why hide it? The phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence, then a click. Later, I found a dead crow on my porch. David's face was grim when I showed him the ledger. "This changes things, Eleanor, but Thomas's lawyer will claim you forged it, or that Robert wasn't of sound mind." He rubbed his temples. "We'll need proof, witnesses." I thought of Dr. Patel, Robert's cardiologist. She'd visited him at home near the end. She'd seen Robert's clarity, his frustration when Thomas wouldn't return his calls. But when I called Dr. Patel's office, the receptionist was cold. "She's unavailable." Later, I learned Thomas had donated to the hospital's new wing. Coincidence? Then the whispers started. At the grocery store, women who'd once shared coffee with me turned away. I overheard them by the frozen peas. "Eleanor's chasing money again. Poor Thomas, losing his father and now this." The courthouse smelled of lemon polish and despair. Wood-paneled walls, high ceilings, the murmur of 100 hushed conversations. Thomas sat beside his lawyer, a shark in a silk dress named Rebecca Vance. I sat alone, my hands clutching Robert's ledger like a life raft. Rebecca moved to dismiss the trust. "Your Honor, this document appeared conveniently late. My client's father was gravely ill when he supposedly signed it. We suspect undue influence." Judge Margaret Collins peered over her glasses. She was a woman in her 60s, with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Ms. Hayes, do you have proof of execution?" David stood. "We have a witness, Your Honor, Thomas's uncle, Michael Hayes." Thomas went pale. Michael Hayes lived in Florida now, a retired mechanic with a smoker's cough and a conscience, apparently. He flew in, his testimony a quiet bomb. "Robert called me that night," Michael said, his voice raspy. "Said Thomas had demanded access to the trust fund early, called Eleanor a leech. Robert told him, 'That woman kept me alive. You weren't here.'" Rebecca objected. "Hearsay." Judge Collins overruled. "Continue." Michael looked at Thomas. "You asked your father to change the will. He refused. I heard it." Thomas's composure cracked. "Liar, you're just protecting *her*. The judge banged her gavel. "Mr. Hayes, control yourself." But the damage was done. I saw it in the jurors' eyes, doubt creeping in like mold. That night I drove home on Route 42, rain slicking the asphalt. Headlights blinded me. A truck barreled toward my bumper, swerving only at the last second. My heart hammered against my ribs. I fishtailed onto the shoulder, tires spitting gravel. When I looked back, the truck was gone. But I knew. Thomas had friends in this town, friends who owed him favors. I called the sheriff. He yawned. "Alina, you've been under stress. Maybe you imagined it." I hung up and clutched Robert's wedding ring in my pocket. He'd given it to me on our 30th anniversary. "Keep it safe," he'd said. "It's more than gold, it's a promise." The trial dragged on. Day 4, Rebecca called Thomas to the stand. He wept actual tears about his father's decline. How I'd isolated Robert controlled him. He was scared of her, Thomas choked out. She'd get angry if he asked for his own medication. Lies, all of it, but the jury bought it. I felt their stares, judging my plain dress, my tired eyes, the way I held my shoulders too stiffly. Guilty, their eyes said, guilty of wanting what's yours. Then Rebecca played her ace. She called a handwriting expert. He claimed the signature on the trust was Robert's. The pressure, the slant, it's inconsistent with his later samples. David slumped beside me. "We're losing Alina." I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The house felt like a tomb. Thomas's 30-day deadline loomed. I wandered Robert's study again, desperate. Behind a loose brick in the fireplace, his old hiding spot for whiskey, I found a USB drive. On it, audio files, Robert's voice, weak but clear. "Thomas, this is your father. I know about the money you took from the business, the offshore accounts. If you contest Alina's trust, I'll expose you." A pause. "She's my wife. She's earned every penny." The date stamp, 2 weeks before he died. Thomas had never responded. Robert had died waiting. I played it for David. His eyes widened. "This is blackmail material, but it's also proof of Thomas's fraud." We submitted it to the court. Judge Collins ordered a recess. "We'll reconvene tomorrow." That night my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Drop the drive, or you'll lose more than the house." I sat in the dark, the gun Robert kept in his nightstand heavy in my lap. I'd never fired it, but I'd learned to clean it. Robert insisted. "A woman living alone needs to know her defenses." Courtroom tension crackled like live wires. Rebecca argued the USB was inadmissible, obtained illegally, but Judge Collins allowed it. Given the context, it speaks to motive. Thomas took the stand again, sweating. "That's not my father's voice." But then David played the recording. Robert's words echoed in the silent room. "She's my wife. She's earned every penny." I watched Thomas's face crumble. The juror to my left, a woman my age with kind eyes, shook her head slowly. Judge Collins cleared her throat. "We'll recess for deliberation. Court resumes at 2 p.m. The hours crawled. I sat on a bench outside the courtroom, staring at the linoleum floor. Elaine, my friend since high school, sat beside me. "You did good, Elle. Robert would be proud." But I wasn't sure, proud, or heartbroken that his son was a thief. At 1:55 p.m., the bailiff called us back. The jury filed in. Their faces were unreadable. Judge Collins read the verdict. The trust was valid. Thomas Hayes was ordered to pay all assets to me with interest. Thomas screamed. "This isn't over." His lawyer dragged him out. Relief washed over me, hot, dizzying. But as I gathered my things, the bailiff approached. "Ms. Hayes, a word." He handed me a manila envelope. Inside, photos of me at the hospital, of Robert's bedside, taken through a window. And a note: "You won the battle, but the war." The house is mine again, for now, but the locks are changed. Security cameras installed. Thomas is appealing, of course, dragging it out. Spending money he doesn't have, money that was almost mine. Sometimes I sit in Robert's study and hold the ledger. The numbers blur. I think about the crow on my porch, the truck on Route 42, the photos. Elaine says I should move, start fresh in Florida near Michael. But this land, it's where I buried my dreams, where I watered the garden with my tears. Last night, I found another note slipped under the door. Just 2 words, check again. I did, in the safe behind the painting, a safe Robert showed me once, whispering asterisk, emergency only asterisk. I found a second trust. This one in my name only. No contest clause, no loopholes, but the amount. It's staggering. Enough to disappear. Enough to hire guards. Enough to destroy Thomas if I wanted to. Robert's handwriting on the cover. For a leaner, my anchor, my storm. The question isn't whether I'll fight. It's whether I'll let the darkness consume me, or if I can finally let him go. The deed is in my hand. The sun is setting, and I haven't decided yet.